All right, I think we're good to go here, and good morning to you all. Let's see if we can get a little bit more there. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. Welcome to Monday. Not Monday. Welcome to the next day, which is Tuesday, and this last day of January, January 31st. And thank you so much for joining us for our Power Up today. And it's always good to be on with you, and hopefully you've got a good day planned, and hopefully we'll be praying that things go well for you today. Man, it is chilly out there today. We're sitting in the single digits here, the low single digits. And man, it's just a little chilly out there, so thankful for heat and a roof overhead, all that good stuff, because it is cold today. But good to be on with you. I would encourage you, if you're just now jumping on, be sure and share this Power Up so that others can jump on live as well and be a part of our time together this morning live. We're going to be in Job chapter 23, so really quick, hit that share button, then let's get our Bibles, open them up to Job chapter 23. The goal is to try to finish out the chapter here as we consider Job here really talking with his friends here and giving his perspective on the situation. So we're going to finish that out, Job chapter 23. Probably here, maybe in this chapter, a couple of verses that we're going to read today might be some of the more familiar verses in the book of Job. And often we go to these verses for encouragement and so on. And look forward to sharing those with you this morning. Let's look. Job 23 and verse number 8. The Bible says, "Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, that I cannot see him." And that's sometimes how it feels in life. Sometimes in life it can feel like we are all alone, that we do not have the help, the encouragement is not there. Sometimes it may feel like God is not there, but it's important for us to always remember that he is there. And sometimes it's us that has wandered from the Lord. It's us that has gone the way of the world, and for that reason, it would appear that God is not there. And then sometimes when the trial, the affliction comes in our life, it appears that God is not there because our focus is so much on the trial that we neglect to focus on the God that is walking us through the trial and strengthening us for the trial. And so that's kind of where Job might be. Man, he's really gone through it, as we know, losing his family, losing many of his servants or his staff, also losing his wealth. His wife has become depressed and discouraged as well. His health is gone from him, and man, he's just really in a tough spot. It would be hard. It would be hard to go through all of that and not look at the situation and feel like God is not there. But we must be reminded of the fact that he is there. Let's not look at the situation to the point that we forget that God is there. Now, verse number 10. This is a great verse here. This is a verse that you are probably pretty familiar with. Job says, it doesn't seem like God's there, but in verse number 10 it says, "But he knoweth the way that I take." Job, after all that has happened here, up to chapter 23 here, Job says, you know what? God knows. God knows everything that's happening in my life. God knows the path that I take, and nothing has caught him by surprise in my life. God knows it. He says, "But he knoweth the way that I take, when he hath tried me." Okay? So Job here recognizes that it is God that is trying him. Now, I want you to note what what Job's goal, let's see, combination of goal and Job, what Job's goal is here is this. He says, when he had tried me, I shall come forth as gold. Now, think about this. This is incredible. Okay, the trial that God is going through, or that Job is going through, God has allowed it in his life. And Satan has gone to the extremes to discourage Job, to get Job to doubt God and to curse God and die. Now, God has allowed Satan to do this, and God is trying Job in this. And then Job says, guess what? When he's tried me, okay, this trial has come. Job's now purpose, his goal, his desire. Job's going to do everything he can to make this happen. I shall come forth as gold. Why? Yes, because of the personal decision to come forth as gold, which is a yes to Job saying, God's brought this in my life. I'm going to trust him with it. And it's really Job saying, God, it's not about me. I can't get through this. God, the trial you brought in my life, or allowed in my life, I cannot control. I will control my response to it. I'm going to trust you. And what a great place to be in, to say, I'm going to come forth as gold because I know God's in control. I know God is leading the way. I'm going to follow him. Man, what a great thought. What a great example for us as we consider living for the Lord and even experiencing the difficulties of life, to have that purpose of, I'm going to come forth as gold. Why? Because I'm choosing to follow God, and I know that God is going to bring me forth as gold, and I know that God is working in this situation. I want to learn and grow in it. What a great thought. What a great truth presented by Job here, and great purpose. I'm going to come forth as gold. Now, verse number 11 now. My foot hath held his steps. His way have I kept and not declined. Job said, man, I've purposed to follow God. I've purposed to live according to God and his word. And my desire is to please him. And you know what? I'm not going back. We see this, man, another statement of purpose. Yeah, I'm going to come forth as gold because I'm going to trust God. Another statement of purpose. You know what? I'm going to keep on keeping on. And I'm not going to decline. I'm not going to turn back. We see this purposing of our heart. This kind of reminds me of Daniel, how Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the king's meat. Job is purposing, God, I'm going to trust you. God, I'm not going to turn my back. I'm going to continue on. You look at verse number 12, continuing that same theme. Neither have I gone back from the commandments of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. Kind of this statement here saying, you know what? I trusted God in the good times when God blessed and poured out his blessings on me. I'm not going to turn my back on him now. I'm not going to reject his commandments now. I'm going to continue to follow his commandments. God was good, is good, and will continue to be good. He says, I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. We see that hunger for that relationship with the Lord, that hunger for God's word, and stating that I value my relationship with God above that which is most necessary and most important in my life on this earth. That's how much I value God, is what Job is saying here. Now, verse number 13. But he is in one mind, and who can turn him? And what his soul desireth, even that he doeth. Okay? Once again, recognizing God's sovereignty, God's power, really God's omniscience, his all-knowingness, in the fact that God is in control here. It says, who am I to go against God? For he performeth a thing that is appointed for me, and many such things are with him. Job saying, you know what? God has designed this and orchestrated this in my life. God knows what's best for me. And that's why we see those verses of great purpose leading up to the statement here. Hey, you know what? I'm going to trust God. I'm not going to turn my back. God blessed in the good times. And you know what? I follow his commandments in the good times. You know what? Even in the tough times, I'm going to continue to follow his commandments because God knows what's best for me. And man, what a great truth that is. And many such things are with him. Know this in your life. Sometimes we look at the situation around us and we doubt God. We may turn our back on God. We may reject God's work in our life. But know this, hey, God knows what's best. That's why we need to trust him. And then let's purpose, even though sometimes it may be hard, let's purpose to not turn our back on God, just to follow his commandments. Let's purpose to trust him. Let's purpose to live for him. Verse number 15, therefore am I troubled at his presence when I consider I am afraid of him. For God maketh my heart soft, and the Almighty troubleth me, because I was not cut off before the darkness, neither hath he covered the darkness from my face. So Job says he's troubled at God's presence. When I consider I am afraid of him, we see that fear, that reverence for God. He says, God maketh my heart soft, the Almighty troubleth me. And just the fact that Job is saying here, you know what, he's got that fear, that reverential fear of God, knowing that God is the one that has allowed this in his life. And one of the things that troubles Job in this is not the fact that God isn't there, but it's the fact that Job himself doesn't know exactly the purpose and the reason for the trial. But he recognizes God's allowed it. And you know what? That could be maybe a little intimidating, maybe a little scary not to know the purpose or the reason. And that's kind of the unknown that we fear. It's almost like our futures. I think it's important for us to, as we look to our future, we don't know what's coming. But we do know and can purpose in our heart how we will respond in the future. And are we going to respond to what is going on in life in Christ-like fashion, or are we going to respond according to this world? And we need to purpose. Think about what Daniel did. Daniel purposed in his heart that he wouldn't defile himself with the king's meat. That decision happened before the commandment was made, and before he had to make the stand. He had already purposed, hey, I'm going to not defile myself with the king's meat. So when it came time, and the guy who was in charge when it came time says, hey, what's going on? Daniel then could say, hey, I've already purposed this. And you know what? Here's the plan moving forward. Here's what I believe God would have me to do. Test me in this. And so we've got to make those decisions of purpose now. It's like this. And I know I'm a pastor, I know in ministry, and so this might be hard to understand. But before my wife and I, before we were married, before we were engaged, before we began dating, before I even knew her, I had purposed in my life that I was going to be faithful to God. I was going to be faithful to church, and the like, and I was going to strive to live for the Lord. Before even God had called me into the ministry, I had purposed that already. God, this is how I believe you're leading my life, and God, I'm purposing these things. And so when I went to college, when I began dating, when I got engaged, I got married, when I had kids, I didn't have to wake up and say, I wonder what we're going to do Sunday morning. There was no question. It's almost like it's like this for us. Most everybody has had a job at some point in their life, or has a job now. You don't have the option to just wake up hey, I don't know if I'm going to go to work today. That's not the option that most of us have. And that's because we fear getting fired and all of that. And so, you know what? We're very committed to our jobs, as we should be. God has provided the job. We are to support our family, those types of things. But how come for some, we are more committed to the job, the workplace, and we've purposed in our heart, yep, got to be there, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9, whatever it is, we're supposed to be there. We're going to be there, rain or shine, Monday to Friday, every day, every month, every week, every year. But when it comes to our relationship with the Lord, when it comes to God's house, that which we say is most important to us, we know the times, we know the days, we know the hours, and we wake up and I just don't feel like going to church today. I just don't feel like reading my Bible today. And that's kind of the attitude we have. That's not right. We need to purpose. We need a purpose in our hearts to just trust God. And that purposing begins before oftentimes the trial, the tribulation, before the decision needs to be made. We've got to have that purpose, okay? So I'm going to leave you with that. Man, I know I went way over today, our time, and we'll get into chapter 24 tomorrow. Thank you so much for being on today. Trust that our study was helpful today, and our application was helpful for you in your everyday life. Let me greet those who are watching live. Once again, if you have not shared our Power Up, be sure and do so here this morning. Cliff and Karen, good morning to you. Have a great day. Ingrid, good morning to you. Love you. Brian and Cindy, have an awesome day as well. Good morning. Lee and Angie, good morning to you both. Jean, good morning to you. And have a great day. Let's see. Good morning, Charlie and Marcia as well. Have an awesome day as well. Good morning to you, Paula. Hope you have a great day. David, thank you so much for being on. And Bill, good morning to you. And thank you, Ingrid, for that second comment of encouragement, just to remain faithful to what God has called us to do, what God desires of us. And so thank you for that, Ingrid. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for being on. If you haven't shared, be sure and share. We'll be back tomorrow at 8:30. Also, don't forget, tomorrow night is our midweek service, and I would encourage you to be a part of that. And so, Lord willing, we'll see you in the morning tomorrow and in the evening. Have a great day, everybody.